Good morning, traders. How's everybody doing? Everybody having a good day so far? Good stuff. Good stuff. Morning. Fix the hat. Everything's looking good. We're looking good. Great. Good morning, guys. So I linked the article I was referring to yesterday in the description below. So if you want to go read it now or wait till after the video, it's all up to you. Pretty good read. I loved it, primarily because I felt it was really unbiased and it was more just kind of stating the facts. I don't like to get into too one-sided, blogs and things like that and articles. So if I'm going to share something, I try to keep it pretty unbiased. So I think that one was pretty unbiased, right? So I think it was more along the lines of just facts. So that's why, to me, I felt it was a good read. So when you get done or whenever, first link in the description will take you to some site, and you guys can read up on that in a bit. Primarily talks about the debt and ways that you could go about fixing it, how long it might take to fix it, and that it is possible because, anyways, we always talk about being like 20 some odd trillion dollars in debt. And really, that's all like the benefits and promises that the federal government has made and going on. But you guys can read it. It's a good read. All right. So good morning. Netflix ended up doing what we wanted yesterday. To be completely honest, I didn't trade it very efficiently yesterday. Just kind of is what it is. But I don't know if I talked about it with you guys, but I'll put Netflix on here 1 second. Give you guys a little mini lesson too. Let me go full screen on this. So whenever we're getting price target upgrades into earnings, I usually go the opposite way with the stock. All right. Whenever earnings are coming up and the next thing you know, analysts are going price target upgrade to this, price target, it usually means it's not going up. It's going to come down. And then also, here's another trick for you guys. Now, not every time, but if you ever watch earnings plays, I don't know if you guys actively stay in the market and actually watch an after hours earnings report. A lot of times on your big name stocks that move a lot, whichever direction it initially spikes, it's usually going the opposite way, okay? So if you go back and you actually look at Netflix's earnings, probably Nvidia's earnings, maybe a few AMD earnings, a lot of times you're going to notice that the stock will spike in the opposite direction first, and then it will crash in the other direction. And that's typically the way the stock is going to go. So whichever way it spikes first, it usually goes the opposite, okay? And so a lot of times I play the inverse psychology on the market. Whichever way people think it's going to go, it's probably going to go the opposite, or whichever way analysts are upgrading it, usually going to go the opposite. Okay. So JMIA was interesting. Ended up crashing yesterday. It doesn't really surprise me. Same thing with TIGR. These two stocks were on an absolute run. And so TIGR ended up crashing. JMIA ended up crashing yesterday for the most part. I mean, not like a full-on crash, but had some pretty good downward moves. So congrats to anybody who was short bias or shorted those stocks yesterday. QCOM ended up fading out a little bit from the open. So QCOM is still on the watch here. We didn't get a dramatic sell-off, which I didn't anticipate we would, because the news is still pretty frequent. News is still new. So going to be keeping this on watch today as well for a potential move lower. Just depends on how it sets up. Right now, pre-market, it's just consolidating sideways. So this leads for one of those opens where we could get a spike up, spike down, because it's just in a flat consolidation. So it's like just straight sideways. So whichever way it initially starts isn't necessarily the direction it's going to go. So I'm going to wait for the early morning, see how it reacts. If it spikes up, I'm going to be watching some key levels from yesterday, which would be this top right here, and then up to this level, and of course, previous high of day. And then you have your kind of low a day area there to keep an eye on. So if you're going to be following QCOM, make sure to mark off your high days from yesterday, significant spots where people entered short and rode it, any tops and any bottoms. I don't know what you told me yesterday, but yeah, that you're good in observation of patterns. Thank you, NASDAQ SE. I appreciate that. So with that being said, another thing you guys might want to keep an eye on, I mentioned this a couple days ago, VIOT. So congrats to those who are swing trading this one for the break on this bullish pennant. This is something to still keep an eye on. It definitely had a fresh break. It's acting in a very bullish manner. This might have some continuation in the days to come, but definitely worth keeping an eye on if you guys like to swing trade. It's not necessarily a day trading stock. If you can see it, doesn't trade a whole lot of volume, but if you're more into slower developing swing trading stocks, this might be something you want to keep an eye on. Just figured I'd mention that real fast. So going on to Netflix, Netflix going to be keeping on watch for continuation to the downside here or a short play. Right now, it's kind of one of those situations where it's just sideways consolidation. So, going to wait for the early morning panic and then get some formation within the first kind of 20, 15, 10 minutes and then make a decision. Some to keep eyes on, of course, are already the levels that I marked out right here. This top point where it bounced up and shorts came in, kind of pushed it back down. That's a significant level to watch for, along with your low a day area from yesterday. Not this one. Let me delete that off. Put this one back on. Right there. Another significant level to watch for. So going to be keeping eyes on Netflix short buys today as well. What I don't like about Netflix too is the daily chart isn't really great looking. It's still kind of in this consolidational zone it's been in for the past 4 or 5 weeks, couple months, still within that zone. So it hasn't really broken down for any significant support. So it's still kind of within that chop zone personally, but going to see if we get this earnings to bleed out today. Stocks to Trade is the best software for trading. I looked at it, but never really got too involved with them. So maybe I'll check it out. It's been a while. So maybe there's something that I should be looking at there. Yep, BX. I was going to talk about BX. So if you look at BX today, BX had earnings as well. Now, it is up this level you see, this red dotted line on the top. That is going to be its most recent 52-week high. It's not all-time high. Stock has reached, I think, an all-time high of like $43. So price has jumped up all the way basically into the 52-week high. It's starting to see some sellers come in on it right now. Thinkorswim, at least on my platform, my account doesn't have any shares to short. That doesn't necessarily mean you won't have shares to short. There's been situations where some TOS accounts still have shares to short while others don't. So you might want to double check, see if you do have shares to short. But this is something to keep an eye on. It's got a big gap up from 35 to 39.5, so 4.5 point push. Actually, that's a little less because it started from about 35.8, so maybe about a 3-point push. So definitely some money that it could give back on the downside. Really what you'd want to do is just mark off from high to here across low. And there's even a small divergence that took place. If you look at your RSI, if you follow, it's really on the RSI, not on a MACD, but you can see there's a small bearish divergence here. Where we hit a high, we're trying to bounce up, trying to keep going, but we created a lower high here on the RSI. So small divergence, and we're starting to see it fade out a little bit. So the key thing for a lot of traders this morning on BX is going to be able to see if it can hold that pre-market dip initially, which was at, 38.74 going across. If it can't, snaps down below the pre-market low, you're going to probably see a little bit of a panic sell-off below that level. Then you probably have some fib traders in here. Let's see. You probably got fib traders in here looking for bounces around 38 for, maybe 38.08 to 37.64. That's where we might see some fib traders come in to try and buy up a dip. So definitely keeping a watch on this. So the only way I'll be trading this is off a dip, or if it continues to push higher to break over that 40 level, because I don't have shares of short. So I can't be short bias on the stock today. It can only be long bias for now. You know what? I think we should talk about Lyft. I do like Lyft. What is the best sector for trading right now? I wouldn't know. I haven't looked at any of the sectors recently. For me, I usually go based off momentum, where I see momentum in stocks. So I wouldn't really know too much on the sectors, but I could look into it. Yeah. VFF. I feel like, yeah, I definitely looked at that, I think. I'm pretty sure I looked at that recently. CGC had a good move this morning. You could follow that. Yes, for sure. Is the earnings season buying the dip or shorting the rallies? I really, I guess I couldn't answer that. Earnings season, I wouldn't say it doesn't have anything to do with earnings season. It's more or less you're buying a stock you feel is good on a dip, and you're shorting a stock you feel is at a good sell point. Well, yeah, because, right, you got to think, right? And this is in regard, we'll take a look at all these couple stocks. I like the ones we were mentioning. When you're talking about NBEV, they had the deal with Walmart, right? Walmart partnership with NBEV. Cool, right? It's really just some catalyst news. They can drive in some attention for that day. But regardless if NBEV gets a deal with Walmart to have products in their store, does not necessarily mean that the company as a whole is going to succeed, right? It's just good that they got a partnership, right? They're in a big brand name store, but the deal does not guarantee nor determine success for the company, right? It's just, so in my opinion, it's just kind of some news to trade off of. But other than that, it doesn't necessarily mean invest. Nope, not really watching any penny stocks. There's going to be a lot of people talking about MBIO, a couple people talking about FBIO, a couple people talking about SNGX, right? SNGX had some phase 3 news, some biotech stuff. Didn't really look all that promising. I think FBIO was another one that spiked from a couple dollars all the way to $4 a day, ended up fading out. Been trying to hold support pre-market around $2, $2.20 actually. That one looks a little bit better than SGNX, but for me, nothing really looked that appealing. So we will take a look at next here. We'll go back up to the top. We'll talk about CGC because it did have a pretty good move this morning. So with the move that CGC made, there might be some additional volatility to trade, but the daily chart doesn't really look all that great. If you look at the daily chart, we just kind of curled back around right into the sell point, right? You can see all this resistance that it sold off from. We just curled up and into it, sold off. So I don't really expect that CGC is getting back over 47. If it did, great, but it'd be pretty impressive, right? We got a lot of, it's a big sell zone here, has been, right? All this is a sell zone in the short term, that is. And we just kind of popped right into that level. So, we definitely got some sellers there because you got to think, right? This CGC from the daily standpoint, hold on, CGC was kind of trading like this, and there's probably a good amount of traders that felt CGC was going to break up. So you probably had some people buying in the dips here, and then there's probably some people that got caught in this wave down, didn't get out, and now that it curls around back up towards all these previous potential breakouts and dips, you definitely got some people selling into that move that were holding, right? So there's definitely a little resistance around this 48 mark. From the intraday standpoint, it doesn't really have any good pattern formation yet. So, this is something where I'd wait for intraday setups because pre-market, it's not really giving you a whole lot. We just had a nice move after hours, and we're kind of just hanging around rallying here pre-market. There's really not too much to go off of or any real great pattern formation here. If anything, just watch your pre-market support levels. There's usually always good dip buys off these. All right. Apple, I don't know what's going on with Apple. Been a while. Actually, no, I do know what's going on. I looked at it yesterday. What I'm talking about. So Apple ended up having a pretty good move going up. This is kind of in relation to the Qualcomm news. Qualcomm and Apple both performed pretty well after the battle royale ended up ending. That is, I would probably keep Apple on watch for continuation. Now, any of these bullish plays you guys are looking at, if you're looking at anything bullish today, or have a bullish outlook, you're really you really need the market to perform well. Yesterday, the market did not perform all that great, and that's probably why you've seen a lot of stocks drop yesterday. Like Roku had a bad day, Nvidia had a bad day, AMD had a bad day, Shopify, I don't know, but not that bad. Started off pretty rough. So you're seeing a lot of your bigger names, big techs. Let's see, what did Caterpillar do? Caterpillar didn't trade all that well. Tesla got crushed, then it bounced back pretty good. But you were seeing a lot of negative sentiment early on with a lot of those stocks, and that's primarily because the market started off just getting smoked, right? So, any of your large cap stocks you guys are focusing on, very dependent on the market. If you start getting a choppy day in the market, you're probably going to get some choppy trading on your large caps today, okay? Zoom video IPO. Zoom is having an IPO. I haven't really looked into it. I don't know when it's coming out. I haven't read their prospectus. I don't know if their prospectus is even out. But that is a video I plan on doing, a video on Zoom, a video on Pinterest, and I know there's a couple other pretty big names coming out. So I will be getting to some videos doing, some IPO background, same as I did Uber, along those lines. So I will be getting to doing some of those videos here in the near-term future. Yeah. Yeah, and so here's the thing is, like, when I heard Zoom was having an IPO, I actually got kind of excited because I use Zoom every single day. That's what we use for our private trading group. We use Zoom to do our streams and do our mentoring classes and things like that. So I really like the product. I've never had issues with it, and customer service is great. So from a consumer standpoint that uses it every day, the software kills it. I never have problems. They don't finagle me on pricing. It's always the same. Whenever I have questions, they're always there to answer it. I mean, from a consumer side, it's a great product. And I use it. So it's like, is that something I'm willing to buy? And it might be. It really might be. But got to read their prospectus and, take a look at, everything that's going on first. I don't know what the ticker is for Pinterest yet. He's doing well. He's doing really well. Boyfriend, he's doing great these days. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I was gonna say something, but it's probably best left unsaid. Pins Pinterest. Okay. Well, anyways, with that being said, it is 8:54. I'm gonna head back to the private group. So keep an eye on Netflix. See if that continues to fade out today. Qualcomm, the news is strong. Still wait for the news to settle, and then you'll probably have a nice short play there. BX earnings play. If you have shares to short, I'd keep that on watch. And if you're going to be long large caps today, make sure the market stays bullish, right? And in terms of penny stocks, really the only thing I saw was the MBIO, FBIO, and SNGX. Other than that, there's not too much. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Everybody have a good day. Take care. It's Thursday. I forgot to mention this, that it is Thursday, and it's a holiday weekend, so things might be a little bit slower today, and the market will be closed tomorrow, so no trading tomorrow. Got a long weekend, so, do anticipate things might be a little bit slow, or things might slow down sooner in the day, and power hour may not be that great to trade today, considering it's a long weekend. Some people might skid off early, and so on. All right. Do I like breakouts after earnings? I like anything that breaks out. Right? It's not, so I get here, and I'll answer this. Right? I get a lot of questions all the time. People are like, well, do you like this over this? Do you like that over that? And it's For me, I just like opportunity. Where I see opportunity is where you will find me personally, right? And that's the other thing, right? It's like if I don't see the value myself, then I won't trade it, even though it might perform great, right? It's just some things you just don't see, some things you do see, and you can't be entirely perfect. You're going to miss plays, you're going to hit plays, right? And it's just, you can't be entirely perfect. So it's the best way to always go about trading, in my opinion, is wherever you are comfortable and wherever you see the value for yourself or something that you believe is going to work in your favor or work well for you, that's where you focus your attention, right? Some people, and it's happened all the time, right? I'll look at something, I'm like, I don't really like it, or someone will say, hey, take a look at this, and I'm like, I don't really like it, and it ends up performing great, right? And it's not because I suck or because I don't know what I'm doing, it's just the fact I didn't see the value for myself, right? Or I didn't know enough about the stock, or I didn't do enough due diligence, right? There's usually a reason why you're not seeing the value, whether that's your research isn't enough in depth, you didn't take a close enough look at it, maybe you missed the news, maybe you weren't checking volume, maybe you didn't check float, shares outstanding, short interest, the list goes on, right? So that's part of it along the way. So everything, like trading strategies, Bollinger Bands, when price action gets squeezed in between Bollinger Bands, you could see a nice move, but right? So you're asking, right, do I trade Bollinger Bands? No, I don't trade Bollinger Bands. Why don't I trade Bollinger Bands? Because I don't need Bollinger Bands on my chart to understand where. Because Bollinger Bands really tell you when price has been overly extended out of Bollinger Bands and it's ready to snap back in, right? Or when price action consolidates and the Bollinger Band becomes really, really tight, stocks can break out in either direction. So why would you need a Bollinger Band to tell you when price action is really consolidated when you can just look at the candles to realize price action is really consolidating? Or why would you need Bollinger Bands to see when a price is overextended when you know when a price is overextended? But when you're just starting, Bollinger Band works great to understand when price is way outside the realm and it might be ready to snap back. As you begin your trading, you may not understand when prices are so extended. But after practicing and doing it so long, I'll know when prices are extended, overextended, and when prices in consolidation. All right, guys, everybody have a great day. I will not see you tomorrow because we have the day off, and I'll see you guys next week, Monday morning. Everybody, take care. Have a great day.